Mean mugging.
All right, you ready?
Okay, here you go.
Welcome to another edition of Wednesday Chats. Today I'm here with
Jason?
Jason and me. I'm Eileen, and today we're going to talk about worship. So, Jason.
Yes.
My number one thought that I think of when I want to ask you a question is, how do you go about picking your songs? What's the process behind what you do?
It's a very good question. There's a couple of things that I keep in mind when I'm thinking about songs. And one of them is, I'm in no order.
Order of importance?
Yeah, one's
Okay.
not more important than the other, so to speak. But definitely, how singable is this song? Because musically, there are a lot of songs that are great and they sound amazing, but they are on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being really hard to sing.
Yeah.
They're hard to sing. And
I think every Christmas song ever wrote is on the number 10, 9, and 10 list.
Definitely, yeah, yeah. So I try to look at and sometimes that's subjective, like you're saying. Like some people are like, oh, that seems easy to me. People that are more musically inclined, or maybe grew up singing around the house or whatnot with their family. But for me, I try to make it as easy to sing as possible, or that's what I would like.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's people out there that would say, oh, well, you sing this song and that song's really hard to sing with. And like I said, it's a little bit objective, but I try to make sure that it's singable and easy for people to pick up. And that's when you're listening to a song, that's kind of easy to get, from a song. When you hear it and all of a sudden you're singing the chorus of it, on the radio or whatever, that's an easy song to pick up and sing. And so that's definitely one of the things that I think of. And obviously, as far as theology, what is the song saying?
That's probably pretty important.
Very important, yeah. And then even, in line with theology, what is it possibly teaching us, either about God or about ourselves or about worship or... I think theology most of the time is teaching us something. There's something that we can learn, and so I try hard to think about those things, because I don't want to sing songs that teach something that isn't true.
Yeah.
And isn't right. And most of the time it's sneaky. Most of the time the lyrics, you first pass, you would go, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. But then if you kind of dig a little bit deeper and look, you'll realize, oh, well, that's, what are we actually saying when we sing this? And so real fundamental stuff is what I try to focus on. And the main purpose of singing in church is to worship God, and to give Him praise, and so I also try to let that dictate how I choose my songs. So
Gotcha.
Not a lot of me, which there's kind of an ebb and flow in worship music. Like there's seasons where all of a sudden there seems like there's a lot of Lord save me, Lord help me. Which that's not bad, but just to try to balance it out with praise and adoration and all that kind of stuff.
Now, I know that how we approach God can be a very personal thing, and people are very opinionated on the right way to do it.
Yes.
But we also have a lot of people who are new to worship, per se, and coming into a situation where they're singing with a group of people, and there's a goal, like you just mentioned, it's to praise and worship God. What would you feel like would be some fundamental, basic attitudes or posture or things that how we should approach worship, I guess, would be a good thing when you come into
specifically
corporate
in church?
Yes, a corporate worship setting.
Yeah. Another great question. I would say that there's a spectrum and a range, and it has to do with what you're talking about. How some people are coming in. This is the first time they're experiencing church or anything like that, and they haven't sang a bunch. I mean, singing is really culturally pretty big. Not just in our culture, but in every culture, really. And so there's something kind of unifying about that, I believe, which is why I believe that the Bible tells us to sing. That gives us that exhortation to sing. So, but I would say it's always going to be awkward for people that haven't experienced it, and that's not necessarily bad. And even speaking to people that haven't experienced it or have been here a few times and thought, this is weird, why are we doing this? There's always going to be a little bit of uncomfortableness when you first start in that setting, because it's new and it's different. And hopefully the Holy Spirit is prompting us and speaking to us, and his presence is felt in some way. And sometimes that uncomfortableness is that. It is the Holy Spirit kind of just prodding us a little bit. I didn't say weird. I didn't say, bad. I didn't say unhealthy. I said just a little bit uncomfortable. And that's okay. And that can happen, again, all through the range of people that have been coming to church forever. Maybe there's something, that you haven't done yet. You haven't lifted your hands in worship, or you haven't kneeled before God, or kind of used these different physical expressions. And so doing one of those things can feel that same way, even if you've been coming to church for a long time. There's people that, have gone to, a Catholic church for a really long time. Singing is very different in a Catholic church than it is here at Monmouth Christian. So there's similarities, but it's also different. And you generally don't see people raising their hands in a Catholic church. And so maybe a Catholic person comes to church here and they see people raising their hands, and that's really awkward and weird. So I guess to actually answer your question.
That'd be nice.
I would say that I love talking about this stuff. See, this is the problem. I would say that the attitude should be one of giving something, of surrender, of laying something down, being in a vulnerable position, and really, I think I said it this last Sunday. Actually, I asked people to lift their hands with me, to do it as a church, and that's a vulnerable physical position to lift your hands.
Yes.
It's a position of surrender, and that is a physical way that we can express kind of what should be going on in our hearts, which is that we should be putting our hearts in a vulnerable position in front of God, for Him to be able to speak to us. And so when we do these things, we're just trying to surrender and give praise and worship to God.
I heard somebody say, I don't remember who, but they said one of the worst things that you can do is to come before God in prayer or in worship with nothing.
Yeah.
You don't bring nothing. You bring something, and that something is surrender or humility or gratefulness or thankfulness, but those are the things that we present when we come before God in worship or in prayer.
Or anger.
That's true.
Or sorrow.
You can't bring negative things.
Or sadness. I mean, the idea is to be vulnerable is to be truthful and real.
Yes.
Before God.
That is true.
And I believe He really, really cares about that.
I agree too. Yes.
And we're not always, in some snappy mood. And
sometimes you go through hard things, and you've got a lot of nasty things rolling around in here.
Yeah. And the reason that because I agree with you, but the reason that I am careful with the phraseology of that is that it really has nothing to do with us.
Exactly.
It doesn't really have anything to do with what we have. It's just giving everything that we do have, whatever that is, to God. And it's not like, I need to polish this up before I bring it in and present it at the altar.
For sure. That's
I don't
good
believe that at all.
clarification.
Yeah.
Yes.
We come as we are, and God deals with us, and He's big enough to do that.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons we do worship.
Yeah.
Is because of that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope this is helpful to you today, just to kind of expand your thought processes about worship and get you thinking about that a little bit more. And so we thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.